Colonel Tharcisse Renzaho was sentenced to life imprisonment by the ICTR, yet he allegedly protected the Tutsi from Kagama's troops, who were secretly massacring them. By June 17, 1994, Kagama's RPF controlled more than half of Rwanda, and yet massacres of the Tutsi had already taken place in many of the locations under their control. They even wrote a letter dated April 30, 1994. Meanwhile, on the government side, many Tutsi were still safe in several locations. Colonel Tharcisse Renzaho, the governor of Kigali from 1990 to 1994, was sentenced to life imprisonment for allegedly ordering the killings of Tutsi at Saint Famille and the Sela refugee site on June 16 to 17, 1994, the same dates Kagama's RPF invaded and captured those locations. The Rwandan Armed Forces, FAR, and the Interahamwe fled on the same day. The genocide had started on April 6, meaning this happened more than 2 months later, while the Tutsi there were still alive. Let us ask ourselves, why were many Tutsi massacred only after Kagama's RPF invaded and captured those areas? This happened in several places, such as Kicukiro, Saint Famille, Saint Paul, Remera, Kagoagu and Kibagabaga. This is where many believe the hidden truth lies. Imagine the governor of Kigali being accused of killing Tutsis at Saint Famille on June 17, 1994, more than 2 months after the genocide began. While on the side controlled by Kagama's RPF, which already held more than half of the country, there was allegedly no single place where they arrived and the Tutsi survived afterward. In fact, the closer the Tutsi lived to Kagama's army positions, the earlier the massacres reportedly occurred. Take Remera, for example, a city only minutes away from the CND, where Kagama's army was based in Kimihurura. The Tutsi there were among the first to be killed in Kigali. What kind of genocide stoppers were they? Then who protected the Tutsi at Saint Famille for 2 months? Was it not Renzaho's troops? Or were they simply lucky? And why would Colonel Renzaho suddenly decide to attack and kill the Tutsi just as Kagama's rebels were capturing the city? Again, as the FAR withdrew from Gitarama, Kagama's RPF arrived and captured the city. They had previously been protected by the FAR. By June 5, the Tutsi in Gitarama were reportedly still safe. Yet in areas already controlled by Kagama's RPF, there was allegedly no place where Tutsi remained protected by that same date. According to this argument, Kagama's forces had already committed massacres in every location they controlled. This is where some believe the need to keep massacring the Tutsi was rooted. Do you see similar killing patterns recurring everywhere Kagama's troops approached? If this cannot convince people about who carried out the genocide, then what can? If the Tutsi of Saint Famille, Saint Paul, Kabgayi, and Gakurazo were still alive more than 2 months after the genocide began, some believe this would have implicated Kagama himself. According to this view, Kagama allegedly felt pressure to ensure attacks occurred in those areas once his forces approached. Today, despite Kagama's efforts and international support, supporters of this theory believe this pattern still points fingers at him, and that nothing can erase that evidence. According to this perspective, Kagama's army was not only fighting the FAR, but was also allegedly involved in attacks against Tutsi civilians. The claim is that these massacres were later blamed entirely on the Hutu population through international media and political influence. The repeated killings, occurring on similar dates and often coinciding with FAR, are viewed by supporters of this argument as evidence of what Kagama's RPF was allegedly doing, not stopping the genocide, but carrying it out while shifting blame elsewhere. Afterward, the genocide was blamed on the Hutu, and many Hutu civilians were killed in Rwanda and Congo, imprisoned, tried in courts, or forced into exile. Many Hutu leaders, businessmen, intellectuals, and artists were either killed, jailed, or disappeared. Even some individuals who had financed Kagama reportedly faced persecution later. At the same time, some Tutsi also fled, while others were killed or tortured, especially those who allegedly discovered information that contradicted the official narrative. Kagame then reportedly told the Tutsi, "If it wasn't for me, you would no longer exist," while telling the Hutu, "If I had allowed full revenge against you, you would all have been wiped out." As a result, Hutu and Tutsi increasingly viewed each other with suspicion and fear, while Kagame became the center of power over both groups. Supporters of this perspective also believe Western governments backed Kagame through international courts, arrest warrants, financial aid, and military support, while Hutu populations were globally demonized. They further claim Kagame's forces committed killings that were later blamed on the FAR, Rwandan Armed Forces, are in order to justify UN Security Council Resolution 918, which imposed an arms embargo and weakened the government army. In the video, Colonel Renzaho says his troops are withdrawing from Kigali due to a lack of ammunition. On April 17, 1994, the FAR, Rwandan Armed Forces, reportedly requested a joint army composed of FAR troops, Kagame's RPF, and UNAMIR forces to stop the killings, implement a ceasefire, and investigate the massacres. According to this account, the proposal was rejected by both UNAMIR and the RPF. Supporters of this theory argue that killings continued partly to justify international intervention and arms embargoes. The same accusations are extended to the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where Kagame's allies are accused of supporting armed groups such as M23, contributing to millions of deaths and widespread atrocities. After Rwanda's fall, many FAR, Rwandan Armed Forces, soldiers and Hutu civilians fled through Congo toward Brazzaville during the conflict between Pascal Lissouba and Denis Sassou Nguesso. Rwandan Armed Forces members joined Sassou Nguesso's side, helping him regain power and opening refuge routes for fleeing Rwandans. In Angola, during the war between Jonas Savimbi and José Eduardo dos Santos, some former FAR, Rwandan Armed Forces soldiers also became involved. Gen. Augustin Bizimungu was later arrested in Angola and transferred to the ICTR in Arusha, Tanzania, while Colonel Renzaho was arrested in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This world's workings are of Satan. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders. 2 Thessalonians 2, 8-9.